unveiled earlier this year globally, and we've seen it, but now we are all set to welcome it in the Indian market sometime in June or July of 2019. Shumi went to Portugal to sample this car, and here's his story.
So the 7th generation of this car is bigger, and it's not bigger in one or two dimensions, it's bigger in every way. So the wheelbase is longer, it's a wider car, it's a longer car, and the idea is as time passes by, all of these cars grow in space, they grow in the amount of equipment, and BMW says it's not just physical size. They've never had this much standard equipment on the 3 Series ever before.
We started out in the white colored 320D, the car that BMW is going to sell the most of in India. The 2-litre turbocharged diesel makes 190 PS and 400 Nm of torque. But as we discovered, the acoustic glass, which is standard only on the windshield but our test cars had them all around, makes the engine almost completely silent inside the car. It created what would become the theme for the 3 Series cars we drove. The sense that these were mature cars that were more like scaled down 5 Series sedans than sporty entry-level BMW premium cars. Not a bad thing for the Indian owners perhaps, but certainly at odds with the perception of this car for BMW enthusiasts. And just look inside, you'll see what I mean.
What I really like about this car so far are the screens, and I don't think the sizes of the screens on this particular car are standard, but they have done a good job of integrating it. The information is easy to read, and now it's organized in a way that makes complete sense, because there's a rev counter on this side, there's a speedometer on this side, but there's a big space in the middle which you can use to display whatever is convenient. And since we are in a country outside India, we are driving a specifically chosen route, the one thing I want to be sure is that I'm on the right road so that I don't get lost. And the navigation display is so good that in theory a co-passenger could be playing with the big screen, messing around with the settings of the car and completely not disturb you at all, and that's exactly how it's supposed to be. So we're driving primarily 2 BMWs on this drive, the media preview of the new 3 Series. One is the 320D, very important car for India. And this one. This is the 330i with the M Sport kit. Now the 330i will come to India, the M Sport kit will probably be optional. But what that means is, from the base 330i that we'll be able to buy, this one is 10 mm lower, it's running bigger wheels, and it's got M Sport suspension, which is quite a bit stiffer. The difference that makes is that as soon as you get in this car, the first thing you realize is that if I had to buy a 330i M Sport and live with it daily basis on Indian roads, I would be suffering a little bit. But I don't know what the setting for the base 330i is because we haven't driven that car. But I would assume that the 320 was so mature and so refined and so comfortable that the 330i should be as well.
And it immediately felt better. The 330i also has a 2-litre turbocharged engine, but it's a petrol and it makes almost 260 PS and 400 Nm of torque, which immediately feels more responsive, more alert, and more like a 3 Series should feel in my head.
The 330i and the 320D both make the same amount of peak torque. They both have 400 Nm of torque from their engines. But what a difference in feel. Now the diesel is very refined. You can't tell that it's a diesel from inside because it's so silent inside. And this particular car has the optional acoustic glass on all of the mirror, all of the glass. So the windshield is standard, all the other ones are optional, and it does insulate you from the sound a little bit. But BMW does do their usual trick of piping some of the sound amplified from the engine into the cabin. So this car is a lot more vocal when you get on the gas. And I have to say that whether you think of it as a corruption of the natural order of things or an improvement on the natural order of things, it does sound good. The one interesting thing that I noticed in the BMW presentations, of course, is the fact that there is a concern, or there is the awareness that the premium sedan 3 Series car is under a threat from a lot of things, including car manufacturers who are hopping and skipping between the classical ways to classify cars. So there are smaller cars that bring a lot of equipment and approach this kind of automobile. There are cars which are 4-door GTs with sort of like coupe roofs, which are again a halfway house between a genuine 3-box and other kinds of formats. They did also mention a specific company based out of California with electric powertrains that is also approaching the same space. So clearly the car market is not as simple as it used to be, and therefore designing what is a very traditional car in terms of format, the 3 Series, a 3-box, premium sedan, all of that is becoming more complicated. And how you engineer this car, what attributes you bring to it, and how much equipment you put into it, all has changed over the past few years and will continue to change as more and more alternative powertrains enter the business.
It was fairly obvious by the time we wrapped up our drive in the 330i that the new BMW CLAR platform 3 Series chassis is special.
So I spent a considerable amount of time with a journalist who drives much faster than me in the car, and he basically spent the time with the traction control off, trying to get the car to get unstuck, come around, catch the tail and have a little bit of fun. But well, I think BMW's completely poured water on his plans, because this is an extremely grippy car and it's extremely hard to provoke it into misbehaving. Now, I'm not skilled enough, traction control is on and I'm not going to get this thing sideways. But I can tell you from holding on for dear life that he did try really hard and failed absolutely miserably. It just does not want to step out, it's got that much grip. It's awesome.
And the real flavor of the 3 Series as a result requires a lot of power to reveal. Lucky then that BMW had the M340i prototypes ready for us at the mind-blowing Portimao circuit.
So now it's time for the racetrack experience. We are driving what are the M340i prototypes. They're still wearing the camouflage paint job, and the reason why they're in camo today is because these are not final cars. The numbers are all provisional and they will come out in the summer of 2019 in Europe. So these will be the fastest ones we drive.
And wow, that's a great car right there. The 6-cylinder brings 374 PS and 500 Newton meters to this car, and this one has all-wheel drive. But now that engine uses all the insane grip of the car to produce fantastic pace and feel. And trust me, if this is what the M340i promises to be in production spec, the new M3 will be epic. And with that, back to reality.
So that's the brand new 3 Series that will be coming to India in the middle of next year. Now this particular one, the 330i M Sport, is a very stiff car and I don't think you'd be able to live with this every day. But the 320d is extremely promising. There is a slight gap between expectation and reality though. BMW says this is a really sporty 3 Series, but when you drive the 320, the sense you get is of an extremely mature car, more or less like the 5 Series is now, rather than an outright sporty car, which makes it spacious, which makes it comfortable, and which makes it loaded with features.